All right, gang, day 3, and I hope everybody's doing well. So today, I've been doing a number of things related to healthcare and also apartment hunting because my roommate Marie and I are looking at trying to relocate because we're not happy with the community we're living in right now, which is called Camden Shadowbrook here in Austin. Um, I was dealing with some things with this doctor at the WellMed Healthcare Clinic, where I did my first visit on December 2nd. And the short version is that through miscommunication, I didn't understand that they weren't necessarily going to give me the results within 3 to 5 days, but that they were going to have them within 3 to 5 days. And then the doctor would discuss them with me upon my next visit. But I had a misinterpretation or misunderstanding from communicating with my roommate that she had received information about the results, uh, you know, in the 2-week range after she had the lab work done, which is, blood and urine samples, because she had to follow up with them and that they weren't, just giving it to her outright and calling her. But it turns out that, like I said, I haven't been to a doctor in 20 years, 25 years. So it turns out that they just hold that off until your next visit, and then they review them with me. But when they said to me today, because I was calling to get the results, when they said, oh, hey, well, the doctor will review those with you when you come in, I'm like, well, that's freaking me out. Because if there's nothing wrong with my results, why not just tell me? Tell me everything's clean. And through a discussion with my family, they said, well, usually if there was anything wrong, they would call you then. Otherwise, they'll just discuss anything or concerns they do have when they actually sit down with you. But once again, I haven't been to a doctor in 20 years, 2 decades. And obviously I've forgotten how it works, and or the process has changed to a point where I don't recognize it. And I just have to get comfortable in it again. But it certainly did freak me out a little bit. I mean, I think it would freak anybody out if you weren't aware that they didn't usually give you the results by phone to call you, or the doctor called you and they wanted to talk to you about them. I think anybody would be freaked out, like, well, what does that mean? Anyway, so stand here for a second. Anyways, so fortunately, it looks like, maybe there are concerns he will have, but they aren't necessarily as dramatic as maybe my head has turned them into. Anyways, we'll see, because I'm going to visit with him tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to go look at in a community down north, in North Austin. There's a couple of places my roommate and I have looked at down in North Austin, because I've never lived in South Austin before I moved back from Houston. And I always knew people who lived south when I was younger and in my early 20s and living in Austin. I always lived north, then I always lived south, and then 15 whatever years later, when I finally came back to Austin again, I lived south, and I've lived south in a couple of different places. And I don't know if this side of town, well, I know this side of town has just changed because it's not as funky, kind of crazy cool as it used to be to people. So it's not quite the same place anymore. And it's just time to move and get north, closer to my family, even though Austin is one of the most ridiculously expensive cities in the country to live in. I mean, even, California has cheaper places. Now, mind you, they have a lot of crime, but there's a lot of crime everywhere now. Crime is unfortunately far too prevalent, and the resources to address it and the desire to punish people for misbehavior has become less common. People are more likely to say, oh, well, they did something, they stole something, let's not put them in jail, let's just let them go do it and try and live our lives and be nice to them. And I don't share that philosophy, but so I'm gonna go look at a couple of places north, but they're both, in the $2,000 range for apartments. And I remember when I lived in Austin years ago, two-bedroom apartment. I want to say it was probably 1,100 square feet. And this is, mind you, some years back. But it was like $600, $700. And now we're in a place where it's $2,000 for a two-bedroom apartment, sometimes $2,400. That's just insane. That means that the market has literally increased 300% in these many decades. And they say it's because, Austin gets more people and it has more people moving in for Tesla. Really, it's funny because as, funky cool as Austin says it wants to be, the elitists really do want to push out, what they consider the lesser of people, or congest them into multi-family homes so that they can have their posh pads and all that stuff. But the rest are kind of congested in tiny, in more Roach Motel type living atmospheres, which is really not my bag. Ultimately, I'd like to live in another state. But that's also because I would really like to live in a cooler climate. I'm kind of done with excessive heat. I'm not a huge fan of all of his policies. Some of his story is fascinating, but George W. Bush, the former, or H.W. Bush, the former president of the United States, he was the 41st president? No, wait, 40th president of the United States. He used to go to Maine every summer. And so I think that would be find Maine or Idaho. Maine probably is a little more of a political climate that I want to be near, but I just want a relaxing place that doesn't get crazy and people can live and they're not so focused on, hey, look at me because I'm this way. But, this is me. And, I live my life, you live your life. And if we can build a friendship or a community together, then that's great. But it's something about trying to make I am this. I just am me, right? So anyways, those are the two things that are going on today. I've got to get some things scanned in and sent off for approval. We had a baseline approval, but they have to verify our income, which is insane, by the way, because, if you're looking at an apartment in Austin, that is, let's say it's $2,000 a month, which is kind of commonplace, more and more commonplace. Let's just say it's $2,000 a month for a reasonably nice place. You have to make 6 times that rent to be able to pay to live there. Lifting my camera up too much. You have to pay 6 times that rent to do that. Well, how many people have a job that pays $1,500 a week? Not a lot, right? So what happens? You have multiple people living in a dwelling together, trying to survive, and there's congestion. You no longer have the ability to hold on to keepsakes because you've got so much, congestion. The apartments are smaller, the prices are higher. It's just like what we buy on the grocery shelves. And unfortunately, that makes it to where people have to have roommates all the time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with roommates. I adore my roommate. She's a really wonderful person, really sweetheart of a person. But the pure fact that you don't have the choice but to have a roommate to financially sustain in this climate is really disappointing. And it almost just puts us together instead of giving us the ability to have, elbow room for ourselves and space for ourselves. A lot of people talking about safe spaces and stuff, but you can't really have a safe space if you're, 2 feet away from someone at every moment. So I know it's a struggle for people, and I'm fortunately in a little bit better of a situation than a number of people, but I certainly feel for people who have to go through that, and I know I've been there. I mean, my business was wiped out for 2 years after the whole COVID thing. The whole, shamdemic thing hit, and they drove a lot of people crazy, and I mean, mentally, they just abused people to the point where they're scared of everything. No one wants to, interact with you anymore when they're doing deliveries People don't have the milkman relationship anymore, where the milkman would come by, hey, how you doing? Here, you want to have a couple of quarts of milk or whatever anymore? Now it's like, knock on the door and text them, hey, your milk's outside your door. It's almost like, getting a scary movie quote. Your milk is outside your door. Look for it. It's low fat. Okay. All right. Hope everybody is doing well. Be blessed. Have a safe and pleasant day. Keep pursuing the things that are important to you. Get organized, because the more organized you are, the more free you are. And God bless, and I'll see you later. Have a great day.